Today we're diving into one of the world's most widespread, yet, most overlooked parasitic diseases, schistosomiasis. It's an ancient problem with a huge modern-day impact, and its story is this incredible journey through water, snails, and the human body. All right, let's get into it.
I want you to just picture this for a second. You're taking a refreshing swim on a hot day, or maybe you're a farmer working in a flooded field. It seems totally harmless, right? But what if those everyday activities carried a hidden danger, a microscopic traveler that could silently set up shop inside your body and cause damage for decades?
Well, this isn't some sci-fi scenario. It's a reality. We're talking about over 250 million people who need treatment for schistosomiasis right now. That number is just staggering. It really puts the massive global scale of this neglected disease into perspective. So how does a simple swim turn into a lifelong disease? Well, to get that, we have to follow the parasite itself, the schistosoma worm. And I gotta tell you, it has one of the most complex and honestly incredible life cycles in the entire natural world. It's a master of survival that absolutely depends on two very different hosts.
And the first critical player in this whole drama is what we call an intermediate host. For our parasite, that role is played by a very specific kind of freshwater snail. You have to understand, without these snails, the parasite's life cycle just stops, dead in its tracks. The snail is the essential incubator. It's the factory where the parasite multiplies itself into an infectious army. So let's trace this wild journey. It all kicks off when eggs from an infected person get into a freshwater source. Those eggs hatch, and the larvae that pop out have one mission: find the right kind of snail. Once inside, they multiply like crazy into thousands of new infectious larvae. Then, the snail releases this swarm back into the water, and they're basically tiny swimming missiles looking for human skin. They can burrow right through your skin in seconds. From there, they cruise through your bloodstream, grow up in the liver, and finally settle into blood vessels to start laying their own eggs, and the whole cycle begins again.
So, you might be thinking the problem is a bunch of adult worms living in your blood vessels. I mean, that sounds bad enough, right? But here's the twist. The real source of the disease, the thing that causes all the damage, is far more subtle. It's not the worm itself, it's the eggs. And it's a perfect example of how our own immune system can sometimes become our worst enemy. Now, a few weeks after someone's infected, they might get something called Katayama fever, which feels a lot like a bad flu. But pretty often, that initial infection is totally silent. The real danger is the long game, chronic schistosomiasis. And this is where we see just devastating long-term damage: enlarged livers and spleens, intestinal problems, and even a much higher risk of bladder cancer. And in rare cases, eggs can get lost and end up in the brain or spinal cord, causing serious neurological issues.
And here it is, the key to the whole puzzle, stated clearly by the CDC. The adult worms, they're actually pretty good at hiding from our immune system. It's the thousands of eggs they produce that are the real problem. See, about half of those eggs manage to pass out of the body to continue the life cycle, but the other half, they get stuck, trapped in our body's tissues.
So when these eggs get lodged in the liver or the bladder, your immune system sees them as foreign invaders and just goes on a full-scale attack. It forms these clusters of immune cells, called granulomas, around every single egg. Now imagine this happening over and over for years. This constant, relentless inflammation leads to fibrosis, which is really just a fancy word for scarring. And it's this progressive buildup of scar tissue that makes organs stiff, blocks blood flow, and ultimately causes the severe organ failure we see in this disease.
Okay, so we've looked at the microscopic journey. Now let's pull the camera way, way back and look at the big picture. Where in the world is this epic battle between parasite eggs and the human immune system actually taking place? Because this isn't happening everywhere. It's a story of intense concentration.
Just look at this. The numbers are absolutely staggering. According to the WHO, a massive 94% of all the people who need treatment for this disease live in Africa. This is no accident. This is a disease of poverty, one that's deeply connected to a lack of access to things many of us take for granted, like safe drinking water and basic sanitation.
And get this, it's not just one bad guy. We're fighting a few different species. You've got Schistosoma hematobium, mainly in Africa and the Middle East, which prefers the urinary tract. Then there's S. mansoni, which is also in Africa but spread to South America and the Caribbean. It targets the intestines. And then you have S. japonicum over in Asia, which also goes for the intestines.
Now, this is where things get even more complicated, especially in Asia. Schistosoma japonicum is zoonotic, What does that mean? It means it doesn't just infect us. It also infects a whole range of animals: water buffalo, cattle, pigs, dogs, you name it. These animals act as enormous reservoirs for the parasite, constantly shedding eggs back into the environment. And that makes breaking the cycle of transmission incredibly difficult. Why? Because even if you could treat every single person, the parasite is still thriving in the animal population. So given this insanely complex life cycle, the different species, the animal reservoirs, how on earth do you fight back? Well, you can't just fix one part of the problem. You have to attack it from every single angle. The solution has to be a multi-front war against this ancient enemy.
Today, the smartest strategy is called the One Health approach. It's based on a simple but powerful idea. Human health, animal health, and the health of the environment are all connected. So you have to tackle everything at once. That means mass drug treatments for people, but also deworming the livestock. It means finding ways to control the snail populations while also, and this is critical, building clean water and sanitation systems, what experts call WASH. And of course, you have to educate communities so they know how to protect themselves.
And the absolute cornerstone of the treatment side of this fight is one incredible drug, praziquantel. It's safe, effective, and pretty cheap. What it does is it kills the adult worms living in the blood vessels. When the worms die, they stop producing eggs. And when the eggs stop, the damage stops, and people stop contaminating the water. These mass drug programs are our #1 tool for lifting the burden of this disease from millions.
So the challenge is still immense. We're fighting a tough parasite. We're fighting poverty. We're fighting environmental factors. But with smart, integrated strategies like One Health and powerful tools like praziquantel, there is a clear path forward. The real question isn't whether we can fight back, but